Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
This is Duck Insider.
Give it to Verdell. He's got the first down and gone. Duck fans start celebrating. Oregon is the 2019 Pac-12 champion. The 2020 Rose Bowl champion.
Richardson, another open three. Good. Duarte dribbles and slams with the right hand. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champ.
Foley three. Good. Foley ball. Back out Shelley. Three ball. Good. Regular season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of the program. We have a lot of interviews for you. Going to preview Oregon and Cal coming up at 4 o'clock in Berkeley. The Ducks hitting the road. 2 o'clock pregame show for us across the Oregon Sports Network. That's our next football matchup coming up as the Ducks look to bounce back this week. Rob Mosley was out of practice, and latest Quack Minute on the Oregon football social media. He's talking a little bit about practice ahead of his full practice recap that you can always read on GoDucks.com. So, a big focus for the Ducks is limiting the turnovers and getting more guys on the field because they're only running about 60, 65 plays a game right now. They'd like to run closer to 80. Get a few more guys involved, and the turnover is certainly a big part of that, and Oregon focusing on that this week. A few guys met with the media today, including Alex Forsythe, Jalen Redd, and Tyler Shuck. Those interviews for you coming up. Also, the rest of Coach Altman, as Dana Altman previewing the start of men's basketball season. The Ducks hit the road to Omaha today. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, they landed in Omaha just a little while ago. Going to go through practice and then take on Missouri at 6 o'clock tomorrow on Fox Sports 1. We'll have the broadcast right here on the Oregon Sports Network with a 5:30 pregame show. Going to be a little bit different for me, calling it from in here. This isn't a basketball gym, but we're going to do our best. It's a different world that we're living in right now. Going to hear from Andy Avalos, going to hear from Joe Moorhead on the Oregon football front. I mentioned Coach Altman, the football student athletes as well. And how about women's basketball last night? The Ducks getting a win in Portland. Big third quarter fueled the win and a near double-double for Aaron Boley. That's the Ducks' 21st straight win dating back to last season, tying the program record set in 1978-79. Terry Johns and Bev Smith were on the call last night, and they were talking about that and how one golden era of Oregon basketball is now overlapping with another golden era of Oregon basketball, and that a lot of those records from that 1970s squads are falling over the last few years. Going to hear from Kelly Graves and maybe a bit from Aaron Boley on that subject today, as we have a lot to tell you about. I also saw a number of fans wondering about cardboard cutouts at Matthew Knight Arena. Happy to report that GoDucks.com/fan cutouts is ready for Matthew Knight Arena cutout purchases. GoDucks.com/fan cutouts for Matthew Knight Arena. Again, women's basketball back at Matthew Knight Arena this upcoming weekend, Friday and Sunday. The Ducks will face Colorado and Utah. Remember, though, a sobering reminder of how fragile all of this is. A football game is being moved to Corvallis that was supposed to be played in Palo Alto. That's happening next week, and Stanford is spending the week now in Washington. So they're going to play back-to-back road games, and that's because of new policies in Santa Clara County. And we also know that the Pac-12 men's basketball opener for Colorado and Arizona has also now been postponed as well. So things are still a little bit up in the air. So I want to remind everybody, grab those masks and let's get through this, huh? We hope to be back to Autzen Stadium, Matthew Knight Arena, everywhere in between here sooner than later. I know a lot of people don't really care what I have to say. I certainly would rather hear from Coach Avalos and Coach Moorhead. Their full press conferences, edited for the greatest hits, if you will, by one Scott Phillips. You could have a greatest hits album of press conferences with the amount we've done and edited in this Zoom landscape from Scott Phillips.
Yeah, I'd put that gold record on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably platinum at this point. You have a couple spots open on the studio walls. We could probably do it. Let's hear from Coach Avalos and Coach Moorhead. They met with the media yesterday, some of the greatest hits from their press conference, talking about this matchup with Cal coming up at 4 o'clock on ESPN on Saturday.
Andy,
a couple times this year, happened again against Oregon State, the D-line seems to be lining up significantly further back than typical. What's the schematic advantage you get from putting your D lineman a little bit further back than what we normally would see?
Well, in certain situations, when the offensive line is trying to crowd the ball so that they can't get their feet in the ground, there's something typically that we and a lot of teams do based off of scouting teams and things like that. Now, there's certain alignments, not only with the D line, but as well as with the edge players, with the linebackers, that we really need to clean up. And that starts with me and making sure that we have a clearer picture earlier in the week, that we rep that and create the consistency of that through the course of the week. So that starts with me and making sure that on all levels we understand what our alignments are versus all the various formations, whether it be pro style spread or whatever the case may be.
Andy, we talked in the preseason about havoc rate in particular, and when you guys are struggling with that, particularly from the interior defensive line, no TFLs other than Christian's one, no sacks from that group, and a regression in the run game year over year. How do you explain how it's happened so far, and how do you guys try to shore it up here in these last few games?
James, that's a good question. And, it's not, you're not always as far off. You're not, obviously we're not where we want to be. But again, it starts with me and making sure that we have a clear idea of what we're doing and how we're going to do it to create the consistency at the start of the week and finish all the way through every single day, all the way through the week. And then when we do get in the game, it will build that confidence to rep it in the game exactly how we've repped it in practice. And that's our goal. We've had great meetings over the course of this weekend. Obviously, when you have something happen like what happened, there are a lot of conversations to be had, and we had a lot of great conversations. And we're looking forward, about getting back to the blueprint, which starts with, physicality and stopping the run game and committing ourselves to that as a whole. And I will say it again, it starts with me making sure that I'm doing a better job of having the guys' confidence high in the beginning of the week and carrying it all the way through to the end of the game.
Mario just talked about this, and you're talking about this, but just accountability from a man-to-man across the roster. You talk about it as a coach. Mario talked about it for himself. How have you seen that from your guys, and just how important is it after a tough loss like this for everybody to kind of raise their hand when they realize they made an error and make sure they own up to it?
You know what? As in any family, that's what you do when something happens. And we have remarkable young men in this program, and that's the bottom line. And again, we won't go into any of the details, but we've had some great conversations over the weekend where we were able to shed some light. We were all able to communicate some things that we need to do better. And we're all in it together to do that and to work forward and to reestablish, the blueprint of this program, which has made us successful, which starts with our mentality, our humbleness, our hungriness, and how that affects every single day the work we do. And our guys are excited to grow forward from this experience that we've been through here in the last couple of weeks.
Andy, Cal had pretty high expectations coming into the season with Chase Garbers and a bunch of experienced guys back. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they've struggled with cancellations and playing a game with such short notice on a Sunday. Is it hard to judge or make out, what their offense is like at this point, or do you have a pretty good gauge on what Cal 2020 is right now?
I mean, you said it best, Ryan. I mean, that first week, there's things that you just gotta. I mean, they had to prepare for that with a new offense in 3 days or whatever it was, right? What they've done since then, you can see the growth. You can see what they're doing. Obviously, Chase is a good quarterback. He's got weapons around. He's got tailbacks. He's got tight ends. He's got an O-line that has had to shuffle guys through like everybody else, and they're right there. In the last couple games they've been in against good opponents that we've played, and that it's common opponents. So they have grown so much in the last couple weeks. And they're, they posed some issues in the pass game. They got some wide receivers on the outside. They got some length, and that, Chase is getting in sync with. So we know this. We're going to be in a dogfight this week, and we've got to prepare ourselves the best that we can by focusing on ourselves and reestablishing the things that have made us successful in the past.
Coach, I don't mean to grind on about this, but the last 2 weeks, trouble stopping the run, and that's such a huge part of your philosophy is stopping the run first. So what do you have to do against this Cal team who can run the ball? to flip that around?
Again, it starts with the confidence to understand how your piece of the puzzle fits. And from there, it's the consistency of which we all operate. And that starts in the meeting room, us doing a better job in the meeting room, us doing a better job of planning individual and making sure that our guys truly understand how these techniques and these fundamentals in individual are going to apply. And then we got to take those over into team reps. And we've got to do a more consistent job throughout the week of repping that stuff, whether it be alignments, fundamentals, and techniques, to build that confidence and to know no matter what happens in the game, we're going to stick to what we've trained to do, what we've planned to do, and we will do it. And the guys are excited to make a huge jump at doing that. And again, it starts with us in the meeting rooms. It starts with us providing clarity.
Yeah, Coach. So the last two series, Oregon State, I'm sorry to bring it up, but they moved the ball quite easily. It seemed like Isaac made a great play. Looks like the game's over if the offense takes. But then they come down pretty easily again. I know it's not the effort. Is there anything you could have done differently? Why were they able to move the ball so well? And I'm asking, did they just play better? Are they just a better offensive line? You said before the game that they're probably the best offensive line you faced. So
yes, and take no credit away from them. They obviously did a phenomenal job. They did a phenomenal job finishing the game. That's one of the things we pride ourselves on here is winning the fourth quarter. And ultimately it could come down to that last drive like you talked about. It don't matter the circumstances. It really doesn't. And it never does. And that's where we got to grow forward, that it never can matter the circumstances. We've got to do a better job finishing games. And that's one of the things that we will emphasize. That's one of the things that we'll build in our mentality. And our guys understand that, and they know that. And as coaches, we've got to do a better job of making sure that we finish games, whether that's the mentality and keeping ourselves in the fight and staying focused through the course of an entire game. Obviously, we've got to be able to adjust and do some things differently, no matter the circumstances.
With that, Andy, and I know you could say this is an excuse, but I look for context. The time possession second half was more than 20-10, and how stretched thin you got in terms of Pickett going down, Jamal, Daywood, and Dante, Drew going out, Adrian going out. I realize a lot of this is front seven stuff, but still, sooner or later, guys get gassed, and you were stretched. So how much of this is just the degree of context of, look, it costs games, like it is what it is, but you guys were stretched. They were gassed, and going forward, that you hope is not going to be a problem because these guys are coming back.
Well, I'll say this again. They finished – you're right, James. They finished better than us. Ultimately, they did. And that's what resulted in what you're talking about. At the end of the day, we have to find a way, and our mentality has to stay that way. There are going to be circumstances that come up in the game that aren't related, that we don't control, that aren't related to X's and O's, that aren't related to the actual, there's just things that come up, and we've got to be able to have the mental fortitude to push through. And by doing so, how we can help ourselves is be more diligent early on in the first and second down to get ourselves in better position with the sticks so that we're not extending, the drives don't get extended. We had too many long drives in the second half. And yes, there were some things that came up, but we have to do a better job early on in the downs. And as we've spoken about, that starts with the run game.
Andy, from a tackling perspective, I think it continues to be a work in progress. I guess assess your team's tackling this last week compared to previous weeks, and how do you go about improving that from practice? Because it is a lot of experienced guys who seemingly have a lot of reps coming into the season and through these weeks too.
You know what? It was one of our biggest concerns coming into the season. And guys that have played football for a long time, you got to tackle. I wish it was like the old saying, like riding a bike, right? But it's not. And so where do we go from here? We've devoted a lot of time with the time we do have into tackling, and we'll continue to do so. We didn't start off well, obviously, with a long run early on in the game. There are more than a few tackles we could have made on that run, but that's a learning deal. We have got to start a lot faster and we got to finish. And that's everything in between. That's the start of a snap and that's the finish of a snap. And to your point, the tackling part. And so we'll continue to emphasize those things. We've got to do it in controlled settings where it's technique based and the players understand exactly what we're working on. There is no reactions. We're working into our near foot punch, our strikes, our clamps, our rolls, and then move those into tackling bodies. and whatever that may be, scout team players in controlled settings. And then obviously when we're in our team periods, we got to do a much better job with our finishes, which last night in our Sunday practice was by far the best that we've ever done. So you can see the urgency and the care factor. Again, the care factor right now is there.
These fixes, do you feel like these are things that can be accomplished in a couple of weeks? I don't want to say easy fixes, but are the things that you can say, hey, we know we can get this done in the course of the year? Or are they something that, spring football, the lack of that playing a factor, you just can't make it up?
No, these are things that we are going to get better at. We will. And I know we've been talking about that, but I think our mindset is right now. And we believe in each other. And I believe our mindset, more importantly, for all of us, is ready to move forward and make these improvements that we've been talking about. And honestly, we can't wait to get on the field tomorrow and practice.
That's Andy Avalos, Oregon defensive coordinator, meeting with the media. And look, those are tough questions for any coach to answer because they haven't performed as well as they would like, and they haven't played their best football the last couple Saturdays. So we'll see what happens. I think this is a hungry team. Judging from the way Tyler Shuck spoke to the media today, who we're hoping that the press conference will be, for lack of a better phrase, converted in time for us. Computers 2020. It just is what it is. What we will hear from Tyler Shuck, and I'll just paraphrase a little bit. He was like, hey, we should be pissed off after this. I think the Ducks are hungry. Coach Cristobal described them that way yesterday. That's the vibe I get being around here over the last 48 hours or so. When we come back and talk a little offense, Joe Moorhead attacking this Cal defense that frankly isn't as good as I thought it would be. Toward the bottom of a lot of conference rankings in terms of defense. We'll talk about that Cal defense and Oregon's offense next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield IMG College.
Everybody buckle up. Mom. Buckle up. Let's go. Buckle up. Can we go to the store? Mom, buckle up. Some ice cream? Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter Brooklyn was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Joey Mack welcoming you back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. We're inside the Country Financial Studio. We're going to talk with Joe Moorhead coming up. And the Pac-12 has announced all of its basketball testing and cancellation policies today. I've already seen it take effect with Arizona and Colorado. I'll tell you a little bit more about that coming up. We're going to hear from Dana Altman ahead of tomorrow's opener for the Ducks. A week later than Oregon would have wanted, and probably would have wanted a home game before they have to travel to Omaha to play Missouri, and then Seton Hall coming up on Friday. A pair of 6 o'clock games on Fox Sports 1 coming up Wednesday and Friday for Oregon men's basketball opening the season. Every assistant coach interview this year brought to you by the Moya Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Fight like a duck with cancer care you can count on. Joe Moorhead talking about his offense, and as you can imagine, turnovers are a focus for this team, and not only on the defensive side, you hear from Coach Avalos wanting to get a few more takeaways, but for Coach Moorhead and his offense, taking care of the ball. That's going to be a big focus, I think, heading into this matchup with Cal. The offensive coordinator, Joe Moorhead, with the media.
Joe, we talked about the offense expanding, and you did again with, I think, more 10 personnel than you had the prior 3 weeks combined. How did you evaluate how it executed and the results, and also how important was it to have this week? Because when you have a guy like Micah coming back, that may reconfigure things at the receiver position going forward.
Yeah, we just felt during the game planning process, the 10 personnel provided us with a good opportunity in both the run game and the pass game. I think you saw we were able to do some creative things with Jalen Red in the first half. We had some more things on deck in the second half, particularly out of a 3-by-1 formation. But I think we only ended up outside of that last drive running 15 plays in the second half, so we were a little bit limited in our opportunities. Scored on 2 of the 4 drives. But, yeah, certainly 10 personnel was prominently featured in this game plan, and we think it's one that could be very good for us moving forward.
Coach, you look at this season as a whole, and the offense has been pretty good. It runs the ball well, it's balanced, it passes the ball well. But what do you have to do to take the next step forward to be an excellent offense?
Yeah, I think we're playing above average right now, and I think we have a lot more in the tank. I think we need to continue creating explosive plays, which we've done and met our goal for all the games. We have to eliminate the turnovers, and I don't know that means 0 every game, but certainly minimize them. And I think that's probably the biggest thing right now for us to take the next step, and then continue doing well on third down and score touchdowns in the red zone. So I'd say to take that next step from above average to exceptional would be minimizing to eliminating the turnovers.
Joe, Cal has had a strange season just with cancellations, playing on short notice, losing on a PAT block, but Justin Wilcox is known as a good defensive coach. What are you expecting from this year's Cal team?
Yeah, between Coach Wilcox and Coach Sermon and Coach DeRuiter, they've got a very seasoned and veteran and experienced defensive staff. I think the trademark of their unit is their aggressiveness and their physicality and their effort. It's kind of what you see every week. You're going to play a little bit of a mix of a 4-down and a 3-down front. Some 1 high and 2 high coverages, mixing up the pressures. But I think you look at the guys, they're very physical at the point of attack up front. Have some real big bodies, 3 guys close to 300 pounds. The Will linebacker, 6'6", 250, and then the number 24, I think he's one of the best corners we've seen this season.
Joe, why do you think Devin Williams has been, aside from his obvious physical ability, been so successful and effective the last 2 weeks compared to the first 2?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we discussed last week, that he's had really good practice habits and, worked very hard and, given great effort and worked on the precision and the understanding of the scheme. And then he's carried that into the game. And I think it's, you see we've spread the ball out to a bunch of different, receivers and tight ends and backs and have had a lot of dispersal of touches to personnel. And, the last 2 weeks have just happened to be a game where, the X receiver has been featured prominently, either because of coverage or because of, where the quarterback was able to go with the ball. So I think it's probably a combination of those things.
In a loss like this, Joe, I wonder, do you spend more time focusing on some of the failures execution than you do on some of the successes? For example, just the second to last drive there where you need a first down or 2 to ice it and you can't get it done. Do you focus more on those plays, or I guess, how do you review a game like this?
Yeah, we acknowledge everything. So I think part of the process, with a young team and a new offense going through a lot of this for the first time is making sure they understand what they've done well, leading the pack in scoring, almost 300 yards a game passing, a bunch rushing, and, doing a bunch of real nice things from an explosive play in the third down standpoint. And then you talk about what we didn't do well in that game, which was the turnovers and not being able to, string some first downs together on that last drive and giving them the ball back. So those were the points of emphasis in our meeting on Sunday.
A couple of first times we've been able to see Tyler respond to certain situations, whether it be a fourth quarter drive where they're down and he needs a score, and then just he's never lost yet. I mean, what have you seen from him kind of late in that game and then just in the day since and how he's responded?
Yeah, I thought his response to adversity was pretty good throughout the course of the game. Had the early turnover, bounced back from that, and then the one backed up in the second half. And then we ended up, getting down and needed a long sustained drive to end in a touchdown to regain the lead, and kind of collected himself on the sideline, got himself together. And I think the kid prides himself on his preparation and his competitiveness. And I think, like I said about the offense in general, I think he's been playing at an above average level for a first-time starter in a new offense against all Pac-12 opponents. No group of fives, no FCSs to kind of warm yourself up. And he would agree that for us to take the next step, he's got to continue executing at that high level while minimizing those couple plays a game that have been detrimental to our success and the team's success.
Yeah, Coach, on that crucial drive, you didn't get the first down. As you look at it, were you positioned with some people might think it was too conservative, but if you gain 7 yards on the first run, then it's not that conservative. But were the plays the ones that you wanted to call, and did you have the advantage, you think, over Oregon State, or they just played it better than you? What was the problem?
On that last drive where we didn't get the first down?
Yes.
I mean, there's always the benefit of hindsight. Hindsight's always 20/20. So certainly after the game, in bed that night, the next day, and even now, you're able to look back with the benefit of hindsight, say, well, maybe I should have done this or maybe should have done that. We had an inside zone on the first play call that we had run throughout the course of the game, and they brought pressure off the edge, and that's the guy who ended up running it down. The second play, we tried to run a pin and pull to the boundary, and the quarterback got a pull read and got tackled, and we ran a over-under concept that we had run throughout the season that had been successful, and it got covered. So certainly pointing the thumb at myself first, I certainly want to make sure we're calling plays to put the kids in position to be successful, and obviously I didn't do a good enough job of that there because we didn't get the first downs.
Joe, the topic of the running back rotation predates you being here, but obviously Travis taking off and having a lot of success obviously comes at someone's expense. Cyrus had really expanded last year, and the roles were reversed in that capacity. But Cyrus has now kind of gone back to being a goal line, only plus territory back, and he had really expanded his role last year. How much of that is a decision from Jim, and how much of that is a decision on you guys have only been averaging in the mid-60s in plays, and there's just only so many reps anybody can have?
Yeah, I think the last part's probably the most accurate, observation that I think we've had between 65 and 68 plays throughout the first 4 games. I think Coach Master does a really good job of putting guys in games in a position that best suits their skill set. And certainly if we were in the 80s and 90s, there'd be more opportunities. But this really, the number of plays kind of aligns with a lot of what we did at Penn State, where there were quick scoring drives with big chunk plays and didn't have a ton of drives necessarily in the game. So Cyrus is a great player. He's done very well in his opportunities, and certainly is, we're able to get more snaps in the game. I think his role will continue to expand.
Joe, this might be another number of plays thing, but with Devin Williams emerging and now Micah Pittman coming back, how do you kind of see the wide receiver position and their roles?
No, I think that's a positive. Mike is a guy that's, played a lot of football. He's had a ton of production, really cares about the game. And, so to have him back, and along with the emergence of Devin and Johnny playing well, and certainly Red playing well, and Chris Hudson kind of getting his feet wet as a true freshman, to me, the more bodies you have at that position for how we've been throwing the ball and the relative percentage of 10 and 11 personnel, we're going to need all those guys moving forward.
Joe, Mario mentioned how you guys went into the season hoping to be around 80 plays per game, and like it's been said, you're around 60. How can you manufacture those extra 20 plays? Is it eliminating the turnovers, or I guess what can you do to make sure you're at that point where you're getting the amount of reps and snaps that you want offensively?
Score slower and get less explosive plays. I guess that would be one way to look at it. Yeah, certainly the turnovers, they eliminate, depending on where it is, it's going to eliminate a certain percentage of number of plays during the course of the game. But I don't know right now that I'm going to trade off 20 additional plays for less points. To me, as long as we're scoring one more than the defense allows, and we're leading the league in scoring and rolling up yardage and averaging close to 9 yards a play, I'll trade that. I'll trade 60 plays and doing that for 80 plays and less production.
Joe, you mentioned 24, the corner, who's obviously one of the best in the league, but at linebacker, 8 and 19 are their strong guys, and coming off a game where the going on, the linebacker core was probably the best top to bottom that you guys would face, and they were all productive. You talked about game wreckers, and Jihad Woods was productive. How do you prevent 8 and 19 from being game wreckers?
The one guy's the Will linebacker. He's really unique in his skill set. You don't see many 6'6", 250-pound, will linebackers with his length running around inside the box, and he could cover a lot of ground, and he's very physical. And we talked in our meeting yesterday about, the other guy's ability. They call him an outside linebacker. He's more of a rush end than anything, but he's one of the most athletic and twitchy pass rushers. So our tackles have really got to be on their game, and we got to make sure we're doing a good job, not allowing him to, like I say, adversely affect the game. But those two guys at the first and second level, as you mentioned, are two of the best we've seen this year.
Seems like two of the big factors in your wins at the beginning of the season were DJ Johnson at tight end and Tyler Shuck being able to scramble and run the option effectively. Seemed like Oregon State, did they shut that down? What happened? And DJ didn't see, I know Hunter got him there and did some things, but didn't see much of DJ either. So just
Hunter caught a hot hand, and he was playing well, had some nice receptions, did a good job blocking at the point of attack. And, like you mentioned, we were more 11 personnel and 10 than we were 12. So I don't think they necessarily, took the tight end out of the game. And relative to, more quarterback pulls or runs, he scored on the one zone read pull down on the goal line. And then a lot of those throws that you see that are reads that get thrown out to Red in the flat or get thrown out to Hunter on the touchdown, those are all reads. And whether it goes to that person or the quarterback runs the ball is dictated by the key. So earlier in the year, those people were playing the pass and we were able to run it. And now that they're folding in on the run, we're able to dump that thing out in the flat. So I don't think it's necessarily less calls for him to run the ball. It's what the person that he's reading is doing. So they've been more concentrated on taking him away. So we've been able to dump the ball out in the flat a little bit more.
That's Joe Moorhead, the Oregon offensive coordinator, meeting with the media. Brought to you by the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Fight like a duck with cancer care you can count on. Up next, we're going to talk a little women's basketball, a little men's basketball, and hear from Alex Forsyth as he zeroes in on the offensive line for the Ducks after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
This football season, prepare your taste buds for the most iconic sports watching drink of all time, Pepsi. With refreshing deliciousness specially formulated to keep your eye on the ball and mouth-watering fizziness to help you power through game day, Pepsi has everything you need to start strong.
I used to care when Mike cheered so hard he spilled nacho cheese on my carpet, but thanks to Pepsi, even Mike can't ruin my football party.
So this football season, make Pepsi your go-to game day drink because it's the only drink made for football watching. Pepsi, that's what I like.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Joey Mack, welcoming you back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. We're inside the Country Financial Studio. I said we were going to hear from Alex Forsyth. I want to table that for tomorrow, zero in on the Oregon offense against this Cal defense a bit more, because we do have a lot of basketball interviews for you. This is a good problem to have in our line of work, because we've had so many different interviews with so many members of the Oregon Athletic Department that is a lot of fun to be able to bring them all to you. Now it's just a question of making sure we can fit it all into the format of the show. So the Pac-12 for men's basketball today announced its basketball testing and cancellation policies. Really nothing surprising. Need the minimum number of scholarship players in order to play a game just like football, and that number is at 7 for Pac-12 basketball games. Multiple days of testing, multiple types of tests, including game day testing. So here we go. This is the world that we're living in. As men's basketball today landed in Omaha, they will play Missouri tomorrow. And Dana Altman met with the media. You heard some of it yesterday, continuing his conversation about the challenges that this team has faced, and also an interesting note on how he feels some of these tournaments that are going on that are miniature pods and bubbles. He talked a little bit about that with the media as well. Feels like it might be a little bit of a test run for a potential NCAA tournament. Here's Coach Altman.
Have you watched much basketball this first week? And I guess just what stands out if you have watched any of these other games?
Sure. No, a few hours to practice and a few hours with our team, and just wanted to try to watch as much as we can. So yeah, I've been watching games. I think a lot of teams are going through what I'm talking about. Just, if you're inexperienced, you're really struggling with no exhibition games, no scrimmages. A lot of that looks like they're doing right there, just trying to get ready, trying to get organized. And, some of the more experienced teams look a little better. You can tell kind of when teams are trying to incorporate 3 or 4 new guys, it looks a little different. But I think the competition's been good. I think teams are playing really hard. I watched Houston and Texas Tech yesterday, and, I thought there was going to be a fight. Those two teams are getting after it, so, no, I enjoyed watching games. It's great to have college basketball back. I wish we could have been a part of it last week, but as I mentioned, it is what it is. We got to move forward.
Coach, you said that the practices didn't go too well, but who has been shooting well and who has stood out consistently, been the most consistent players, you would think?
Well, as you kind of expect, our vets, Will and Chris, who have played a lot for us, have been really good. Eugene inside has been really solid. Dante's starting to come along. His conditioning has gotten better. He's played pretty well. And then all the new guys, Chandler's been solid. Kind of had moments, which is really encouraging as a coach. That eventually I think we can really put things together, but they haven't come together as quickly as I hope they would. We haven't been able to, see ourselves against other teams and start evaluating our weaknesses, that other teams expose. And usually by this time we'd played 2 scrimmages, we'd gone to play Oklahoma somewhere and had an exhibition game, and, we had been exposed in some areas, and I'm afraid we might get exposed Wednesday and Friday and figure out some things we need to work on. But, the guys' effort's been good. It's just, it's been a long period with no games and no scrimmages, no outside competition, and basketball teams just aren't used to that, so it's been really different for our team. I think they've handled it well for the most part until those games got canceled. Last week they were handling it really good, but they wanted to play. And then it's really hard when you got to watch everybody else play on TV and you're not ready, to go. So I know it's been tough on them, but I told them again, there are no excuses. You guys are vets, you're older players. I know you're disappointed. I don't want to hear it. We got to play. And nobody cares, at the end of the season, they're not going to say, oh, well, they didn't have those first couple of games. It is what it is, guys. You just got to go play. You're seeing it all with the football teams. Utah football had a couple games canceled early. Now they're trying, everybody's had their hardships. Our football team's been fortunate. We haven't had any games canceled, but you look up and down the league or the conference, and there's cancellations in football, and I think Washington played their first game yesterday. Stanford's got their first game today. We got ours Wednesday, Utah's Thursday. So we had 4 teams as of yesterday hadn't played. And Washington had a tough game against Baylor. So, it just, those, there are going to be those ups and downs, and there's going to be unequal preparation time. And so I've been telling our team that those ups and downs, we just can't make any excuses. Missouri's played a game, we haven't. It is what it is. Seton Hall's going to have 2 or 3 under their belt when we play them. It is what it is. You got to get ready to play, and hopefully we'll be healthy. That's my hope throughout the season. We just stay injury free, and the virus doesn't affect our team. Those are the 2 things, and then we just got to go swing away with whoever's available.
Hey, Dana, how unusual is it for you to get on the phone and try to search out those games? You talked about, getting on the phone. Is that unusual for you?
Well, usually you're doing it in the summer or the year before. You're not doing it a week before you're supposed to play. Yeah. But I think there's a lot more conversation between head coaches. I called Kevin Willard at Seton Hall and said, hey, you need a game, I need a game. You don't want to come all the way to Oregon. What if I go to Omaha, you go to Omaha? Is there any way? And Kevin's really competitive guy, goes, we'll be there. We need a game, we'll be there. And at that moment, I know it was locked in, because, Kevin wanted to play and I wanted to play. And I told you about our ups and downs with Missouri. We were supposed to go to Orlando together. That got canceled. Then we agreed to go to South Dakota together. That got canceled. Then there was Mohegan Sun, and they kept changing opponents on us, and we didn't feel comfortable with that. So, it's been a crazy scenario to get to where we are today. But we're going to Omaha. We are playing Missouri on Wednesday. We're playing Seton Hall on Friday. If somebody gets a game canceled during the week, we may be there on Sunday playing. Okay. And then we're flying home for finals. And so we have got 2 games scheduled. We may play a third if somebody wants to play. If somebody gets a game canceled and can meet us in Omaha, we may play there. And again, I can't say enough thanks to Creighton for putting up with us and helping us out here, because we were in a jam. We couldn't. Missouri didn't want to fly out here. To fly to Missouri just to play 1 game but to go to the Midwest and play 2, possibility of 3, that makes it, financially, worth it. And so again, this is, a little bubble. And the other thing, to be real honest, I think it's a good test to see how a mini bubble would work. Because I think, we still have to talk about pods during the conference season. I don't know what changes will happen the next 6 weeks. Nobody does. Dr. Fauci's right, and this thing takes off like, the post Thanksgiving deal. Are we going to be able to maybe just go to one location and set up a little pod there and play 3 or 4 games in the conference? I don't think any of those things, can be ruled out at this point. And so I think this is a little bit of a test case for one of those little pods. Yeah. And, I'm hoping it goes well. So, if things get a little crazy here in December, that could be an option for us in January and February.
That's going to be interesting. I think he's right, though. It is certainly a test. We're all trying to figure out what this could potentially look like. That's Coach Dana Altman meeting with the media. The Ducks scheduled to play Missouri in Omaha tomorrow. 5:30 pregame show right here on the Oregon Sports Network, televised on Fox Sports 1. It's going to be different. It's going to be interesting. And I echo what Coach Altman said yesterday. I don't know what to expect. Similar to football, for me, just speaking personally, I know less about this men's basketball team just from a personal level and knowing the guys, seeing the way that they've played and practiced, than I've ever known about a team because we haven't been at practice, and they haven't been practicing as much. We all don't know what to expect. We're all going to figure that out together. Men's basketball, though, is scheduled to start tomorrow night, and I'm looking forward to it. Up next, women's basketball with a big win last night, and now they're getting ready for conference play at a 2-0 record. Going to hear from Kelly Graves after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar presents an original that's now maybe even better. Mary had a little lamb.
Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar with the same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. That's taste was as good as the original, maybe even better.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. As good as the original, maybe even better.
This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Jackson Food Stores, a proud sponsor of the University of Oregon Ducks. Everything that you'll need for the big game at Jackson's. Go Ducks. Well, last night, Aaron Boley with a near double-double. Oregon won big with a huge third quarter up at Portland. That was a test for the Ducks. The pressure bothered Oregon early from the defense for Portland, but the Ducks then took it to the Pilots in the third quarter. It was an impressive performance. Zona Prince with another nice game, but Aaron Boley with 4 offensive rebounds, 9 rebounds total. I thought that was the Aaron Boley that you can expect. She has been Oregon's best player, as Kelly Graves has said. And this new-look team, everybody got in again. They're playing a lot of different people. And Kelly Graves caught up with Terry Johns and took a couple questions from the media as well, recapping last night's win against Portland as the Ducks are now 2-0 and getting ready for conference action on Friday against Colorado. Here's Coach Graves with Terry Johns and Bev Smith.
This game, you knew you were going to get a few more different challenges than you got last Saturday. You got that, but some good things and probably some things to work on.
Oh yeah, no question about it. I thought the first half we looked really out of sync, and we were just playing faster than we should. And we've got to give them credit. They put a lot of pressure on us, and we just kind of panicked a little bit, and we overpassed sometimes. Sometimes we passed to Casper the Ghost. And, but give them credit. But at the same time, give our own team credit, because I thought we adjusted. At halftime, they just took a deep breath and played more under control. In that third quarter, we really took it to them. I think we outscored them like 29-11. That was much,
correct.
Our style.
Kelly, great game. I thought Portland challenged you in ways that really helped you learn a little bit more about your team. And I think you're right. I really noticed that you attack the press better with a young team. They have this intensity and adrenaline to beat the press, and then that experience of having to pull back and be composed and attack and have patience with your offense. I think they really did a good job of that between the second quarter and the third quarter.
Oh yeah, much better. No question about it. And like you said, it's a good learning experience. And that's our second game. And guess what? We got Pac-12 on Friday. So, we made a jump from Seattle U to Portland, and now we're making another jump in level of play come Friday. So, we're going to have to be better. But we learned from it. And again, I'm playing a lot of kids. I mean to use that as an excuse. I think everybody has earned time, and we're trying to figure it out as we go. But it hurts our continuity a little bit. And, we got a lot of different players at different positions.
25 points from Aaron Boley, and you've talked about how maybe she's been your best player in camp, and she showed it tonight. A little more complete game than fans have seen in previous years.
Yeah, 5 offensive rebounds, and I'm really proud of her. The thing about Aaron gets lost. Last year she played 808 minutes and got 1 offensive rebound. And you might think, well, she's not hustling. You know what her job was last year? Her job was she was our safety. She was the quarterback of our transition defense, and she did it better than anybody. And now she realizes we don't have Sabrina or Satra or Ruthie. I have a bigger role. And so she got 5 offensive rebounds tonight. That's doing work. And so she's being a lot more aggressive. I'm really proud of her. And, yeah, she's been our best player and certainly showed it tonight.
Hey, Coach. So congrats on the win tonight. Good to see you guys in action in person. So with us sort of catching up, I guess, a little bit, forgive the generic question, but obviously this is an entirely new team than you've had for so many years. How critical are these sort of non-conference games, and how proud are you of the team that you're starting to put together this year?
Well, it's really important because this was our last non-conference game. I mean, we play to win the Pac-12. We won it 3 years in a row. We want to do it 4 years in a row. I think we're capable of it. We've got a lot of work to do, obviously, but yeah, this was our last chance to really kind of work some things out, iron them out. And we had some ups and downs tonight, but I really liked how our team responded in the second half, and it kind of got sloppy there at the end. But, at that point, the game's over and kids kind of relaxed. They shouldn't, but that happens. But yeah, I'm overall really pleased with our 2 performances so far.
Coach, I think you commented on Saturday just about the defense maybe not being quite there, but today 22 forced turnovers, held them under 40% from the field, made it tough, I thought, especially in the second and third quarters. Can you reflect on the defense?
Oh, I thought the defense was great. I thought the defense in the third quarter made the difference. It led to some easy runouts for us. We got our transition game going, got some open threes for some of our shooters, and that was the key. I was really pleased. Our defense tonight was so much better than it was the other night. Still a few things we got to work out. Normally we have, 9 or 10 more non-league games to work those kind of things out, and we just don't. So, and that's, but I guess everybody else is in the same boat. Eric, I thought our D was really, really key tonight in that second half.
Coach, 15 turnovers is probably 15 more than you would have liked. How much of that, was the pressure that Portland was putting on you with that press, and how much of it is just the product of, this early part of the season, a lot of new faces kind of gelling together?
Yeah, both. Look who was running the point for us. Tahina, Pau, and Maddie Shear both had, good games in some right, but, they're seeing something they haven't seen. This is full court Division I. People forget this is an NCAA tournament team with a lot of kids back. And they do this. This is their style. And so, yeah, they just kind of speeded up a little bit, weren't sure of their ball handling, and at times made some mistakes. And it wasn't just them. It was all of us. So 15 turnovers actually would put us in the upper quarter of the NCAA. So for what we're used to, it's high. But at the same time, I'm okay with it. And at least we were going hard. We just made some kind of weird decisions. But
a lot of learning experiences. One of those weird decisions. I laughed so hard last night. I was engineering the broadcast for Terry and Bev, and when he said, sometimes we pass it to Casper the Ghost, I just laughed. I mean, I just thought that was funny. A couple times, hey, it happens. This team is still getting the chemistry together. That's something Coach Graves has talked about a lot, that they haven't even been able to eat together. Those sorts of things in the world we live in. It's wild. And so you just don't have that chemistry with your teammates that I think everybody's accustomed to. And certainly that team had last year with the way that they played on the floor and the way they coexisted off the floor. Coming up, some more news and notes around Oregon athletics. Big schedule this week. We got a lot going on. We'll tell you about that next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Hello, it's me, the designer jeans in the back of your closet. What happened to us? I used to summer in the Hamptons, and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Okay, maybe I never really fit you right, but I got a lot more Sunday fun days left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Today's show brought to you by Shadow Hills Country Club, your family resort, just minutes from home. Call for a tour today. Well, we heard from Coach Altman, Coach Graves, Coach Avalos, Coach Moorhead. A busy day. And if you missed it earlier, GoDucks.com/fan cutouts has you ready for Matthew Knight Arena fan cutouts this season. Coming up tomorrow, Oregon men's basketball starts its season. We'll have a 5:30 pregame show and a 6 o'clock tip-off when the Ducks face Missouri. A very experienced team, by the way, has over 80% of its scoring back, including pretty much every starter. That's a tough matchup for the Ducks, who are looking to replace Peyton Pritchard. Now, personally, I really like what Eric Williams brings to the table and Eugene Omarui. Well, there are two guys that were on the roster last year but were redshirting. Really like what they bring to the table. I think that you're going to be excited to watch them play. This is a team that's going to have some balance, in my mind. And a pretty good post presence, too, if Fali Dante and Chandler Lawson take that freshman to sophomore jump. That's coming up tomorrow. We'll talk more about that. No football coaches show this week because we got a basketball going on at the same time on a Wednesday night. There you go. And tomorrow we're going to hear from Mario Cristobal again. That's on the show tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy. And you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit